I'll be going back to PDP after this particular health discussion. But the federal government is set to launch reforms in the healthcare sector, focusing on providing reliable electricity in the hospitals nationwide. Well, according to the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Isiaq Salako, this initiative aims to address the long-standing issue of power outages in healthcare facilities. Meanwhile, Health Minister Professor Ali Pate says Nigeria's healthcare system is undergoing significant reforms aimed at improving health outcomes.
Has been experiencing these methods of funding since 2015, and Senegal want to implement it. It's something very new for us, and we came here in Nigeria to learn from your experience so that we know how to adapt it and how to implement it in our.
Nigeria's health system has been undergoing major reforms. Reforms that are domestically developed in the context of Nigeria to improve population health.
Well, Dr. Olakule Daramola, Secretary of the Power for Health Committee at the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, joins us on Arise Prime Time to discuss the initiative for improving power in the health sector. Glad to have you join us, Olakule.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Yeah, before we delve into the initiatives, we want to paint a true picture of what is happening, in the health sector with regards to power. I was reading an article, and the title was Lights Out, Lives Lost, the Human Cost of Capital Blackouts on Maternal Health. And this is the big elephant in the room, the attitude of government to health. Experts say government has not really taken the health of the people as the most critical, because anybody can fall sick, you and I know, and the health of the nation is the health of the people. How do you respond to that?
Thank you very much. Good evening, Nigerians. And the attitude that you mentioned of government is what is changing right now. There is a historic shift in the approach. The federal government through the Federal Ministry of Health and in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Power and other stakeholders have done something historic, and then we're planning that by next week, all stakeholders are going to come together. Imagine having a puzzle, a very complex problem, which the power challenge in the hospital is. Different people holding different pieces of the puzzle, each trying to chase at it on their own. But everybody now coming together. We have stakeholders from the health, power, tech, innovation, finance, climate, all coming together to fix this puzzle. And that is why the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Power, are going to, for the first time, have the first national stakeholders dialogue on power in the health sector. It is the first, and it is national. It is not just federal, it is not state or local government, it is national, and everybody come together, private sector, everybody come together to just dialogue on power in the health sector. And it's just beyond the dialogue. I know most people will think, oh, it's just a dialogue. No, this is different. This is on collaboration. This is based on collaboration. This dialogue is going to bring out commitments that will be followed through with actions. And this didn't just start this week for us preparing for next week. The program is happening next week, 9th and 10th of September, Tuesday and Wednesday. It's a 2-day dialogue program with opening session and 6 different technical sessions focused on finance, tech, innovation, and everything that is relevant to solve this problem. We see the huge problem and the challenge, but one sector cannot go at it alone. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Yep.
But if you want to go far, go
Take
together.
Other people along with you.
Yes. So, and this event is going to hold at the State House Banquet Hall to show you that how symbolic that government is taking this seriously. State House Banquet Hall at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa on Tuesday and Wednesday. And the journey didn't start now, and it's not going to end now. The Honorable Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Isiaq Salako, at a point went around all hospitals, and from one hospital to the other, the problem was recurrent.
I am going to bring up the issue of Salako, State Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, that you have mentioned. But just to, and of course, the question of financing, concession financing, he talked about all that. But just to put this in perspective for you and I, and of course those watching to understand, WHO reported that a woman in Nigeria faces a 1 in 19 lifetime risk of dying during pregnancy, childbirth, postpartum, compared to 1 in 4,900 in most developed countries. And this mostly is due to electricity failure.
Yes, at the end of the day, we realize that power failure is an equal opportunity terminator in every sector, especially and it's critical in the health sector. The hospitals run 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and they use energy-intensive equipment. You cannot afford, just like you mentioned, any one of us can have an emergency that will require critical life-saving procedures.
I mean, before you continue,
yes.
I mean, this was a case I was reading, and I almost shed tears because you have a wife. I have one.
Yes, I do.
We have
Yes,
daughters
yes.
who will marry tomorrow.
Yes.
A hospital was to administer oxygen, but before they could get their generator running and attend to the baby, the baby's brain was damaged, later died of cerebral palsy. Just to paint a picture
Definitely.
of what we're talking
Yes.
about.
Of course, we sympathize with others that have lost their lives to such issues. But the most important thing is to take action and to study the problem. Over the years, many steps might have been taken, but the difference and game-changing approach is coming together. Light comes from the power sector to the hospital, and that's why we're working with the Federal Ministry of Power. There is also a large percentage of financing that has to be involved. There's a large percentage of private sector involvement that has to be involved. So definitely all of this has been factored in. And if you don't change your approach, it's Albert Einstein mentioned it, if you don't change your method, you can't expect a different result.
You can't be doing one thing
So the
same
most
way.
fundamental, because you have to lay a foundation. No matter how fast you run, if you're running in the wrong direction, you're gonna be running in circles. The pivotal issue in the issue of power in the health sector is collaboration, commitment, opening the door for private sector. And that's why the theme of the National Stakeholders Dialogue for Power in the Health Sector is powering health to public-private synergy, not just partnership, but synergy, and then energizing Nigeria's health sector for the future, which talks about sustainability. So, and when we talk about private sector, it's not just about the fact that they will just bring in investment, we'll also be focusing on impact. And that is why I mentioned that the leadership of the Federal Ministry of Health in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Power and all of the stakeholders, development partners, academia, think tanks, and private sector are coming together for the first time.
Now you
to
talked
look at
about
this.
this. I mean, an implementation committee has been set up by,
Yes.
according to Salako,
Yes.
Minister of State for Health, to look into what he called a comprehensive strategy,
Yes.
to tackle power shortages. What has come of it?
Okay, so by the time there were visits to different hospitals and the problem became recurrent, like I mentioned before, the first thing that was done on 20th of March 2025 was to set up an implementation committee by the Honorable Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Eze Akunle Salako. And the model that was used to set up that committee is one of a kind, because for the first time you have people from the Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Power, Rural Education Agency, all stakeholders coming together to discuss as a team to attack the problem. And then we outlined 6 objectives for the dialogue. First of all is identify what are the issues. All of the situation analysis that you mentioned, the case scenarios, the very, very unfortunate scenarios that are on ground. Okay, what are the root causes? So root cause analysis was done, assess what also operates in other countries, how have they been able to go at the problem. And then the next thing is the committee also even had 3 subcommittees. The first one was assessment and review. For assessment and review. The second one was for sustainable solutions, not just solutions, because you can just have a solution that will not last. So sustainable solutions. And the next committee is the planning and resource mobilization. All of these committees have done their bit, and that is why there's going to be a showcasing of the results of findings from all of these. There's going to be human angle stories, even at the National Stakeholders Dialogue by next week. There's going to be success stories too. As we have some of these other stories that, unfortunately, we also have some great stories that there has been life-changing transformation in providing power in the health sector.
You and I know that, excuse me, over a time, I mean, I've discussed with, what do you call him? Nepa Wahala. I had him on this program one time. And Again, the big elephant is you privatize the electricity, yet Nigerians are suffering, lights out, darkness and all that. The 50% electricity subsidy for public hospitals and deployment of solar mini grids in selected hospitals. Someone said this is scratching the surface. The question I would ask is, why selected hospitals? Why not a holistic approach, to this, so we can have,
Okay, so you will agree with me that even from the time that the problem has been on ground, there has been different approaches to solve the problem. And that is why this time around, there is going to be a new foundation to approach the problem holistically. And that is why there is this national stakeholders dialogue on power. And so like I said, we really need to focus on the fact that this is game changing. This is different. This is calling everybody together in such a way that you have people from finance also looking at how do we make sure that the investments that people bring in, even for renewable and alternative power sources, are very, very at the same time that they are that they give return on investment, they also serve the community. For example, you can have a situation where hospitals become the hub even for powering the communities. We have such success stories already happening in the country, in some hospitals, where at the end of the day, the hospital has enough and surplus. And how do we make sure that even communities around benefit from that? We have such stories, success stories going on. And that is why we want to learn from those who have been successful at going at this. And then opening the door for private sector, for exhibitions to talk about success stories. Because at the end of the day, government alone cannot do this alone. And then we need everybody. And then we're looking at a whole of government approach as well as a whole of society approach. Even the media needs to come on board and also look at the success stories. And then people from the academia, people, think tanks, and then tech. Technology is advancing in the solar and the renewable energy landscape. And we need to leverage that at the same time. At the end of the day, the solution is going to be customized per the local context of each hospital. But at the end of the day, what we are going to push for is, what the federal government is going to push for through the Federal Ministry of Health and Federal Ministry of Power, is to have an energy mix model, whereby you have the solar components, you have the power grid components, you have probably CNG components, you have so many other, and then you're also doing energy efficiency, energy money, because it's not just to have energy, you shouldn't waste it. And you should also prioritize the critical sectors, the accident and emergencies, the operating rooms, the ICUs, and all of that.
Lakunle,
yeah.
I mean, I can't help but say this because we know it's the truth. Talk is cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. But action
Yeah.
is that's the name of the game, or that should be the name of the game. Now, Salako also talked about $1 billion in what he calls concessional financing and grants has been secured to support the ongoing transformation that you're talking about in the health sector. The question is, how actionable is this towards saving lives and improving patient outcomes? How actionable, really? So, and then you add to that the question of inclusivity, people in the rural areas.
Yes. One of the focus of this is to mobilize stakeholders, attract investments, to make sure as the dialogue happens, that it doesn't stop at dialogue. And one of the mechanisms and instruments and tools for that is to have a collaborative plan of action and a compact that states a statement of intent, statement of principles that all stakeholders would agree to. The financing mechanisms, the structures that will make sure that this even serves the underserved and hard to reach areas and prioritizes them. So the aim of this is to make sure that government is not just sitting for a dialogue. It took almost 6 months for the committee that started the work to get to this point where we said we are ready and the federal government is ready and all stakeholders are ready now to move into action. The main thing is most people get tired when we say, oh, dialogue, talk and all that. And I agree, talk is cheap, but this is a different kind of progression we're seeing from spotting the problem, analyzing it, going for the key issue which has been missing, everybody going at the problem differently, now coming together to face the problem. and then making sure there is action afterwards. And I would also still like to emphasize that the program is next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, 9th and 10th September at the State House Conference Center, Presidential Villa in Abuja. And then I believe we'll be coming with your cooperation and collaboration. The federal government, the Federal Minister of Health and Federal Minister of Power and other stakeholders would have this conversation again after that to see that there's real progress being made. And this is different. This is a game changer.
There's a question of special tariffs for the hospitals. Are there such?
I'm not aware of such at the moment.
Shouldn't there be, really, because you're talking about lives?
Okay, so
Patients?
I think one of the principles of this dialogue, as we're going into it, is for each person not to come into the dialogue with a set of one-size-fits-all solution. We're going to listen to each other. Some people must have tried that in some places, and we'll check, has it worked, has it not? And we'll adopt different models, even financing structures. There is a special session on just financing, where you have Ministry of Finance Incorporated, Bank of Industry, and everybody, World Bank coming together. So we will leave that for the experts to also decide and advise. And so that when there's an agreement based on that, the Federal Ministry of Health will drive that and then make sure that we'll collaborate with all the financiers to make sure that it becomes a reality to solve the problem.
That is in the future. That's coming up on the 9th, like you said, but it's also interesting to know what is on ground, what has been on ground now, what is happening really, because overheads for hospitals have shot up astronomically because of the cost of diesel. Most of them use diesel because it's a big organization, you know, apart from the people's maybe small ones that use a plant. So hospitals contend with this and cost of equipments too. How is the government trying to solve or help hospitals with reducing their overheads? I mean, because there's a picture painted, private hospitals try to treat patients. They don't have electricity or they're hamstring. They try to send them to public hospitals who, according to them, should have subventions and all that. And you know the question of standing online and all that before people who are sick gets to be treated. Some lose their lives and stuff like that. So how is government trying to reduce their overheads, both for private, well, private is private, and public?
It's not news that we cannot run away from alternative energy sources, especially renewable energy. And at the end of the day, it is important to look at what solutions work. I think that is where the world is going now. Different technologies are springing up. For you to reduce the reliance on fossil fuel, because by the time you mentioned diesel, it's still almost coming back to the fossil fuel, climate transition and all of that. We need to move in that direction. And of course, the federal government has also made so many commitments around those targets. So there is things around energy transition to make sure that we leverage the opportunities in the renewable energy sector. And I think that is where the energy bills and the costs that are soaring will be able to come down. And just like I mentioned, these are all of the things, business models, different business models that's been outlined, and the Honorable Minister of State for Health, like I said, and the leadership of the Ministry of Health and the federal government have been able to look at what works. There are so many templates of solutions on the table. At the dialogue, that it will be finalized and then it will be put forward. Things have worked, things are working. There are hospitals that have success stories, and they're going to share them at the panel, and we're going to learn from that. And then you have places where energy cost has been cut by 50%. So how do we take such success stories and generalize it and make it adaptable to every local context, no matter the challenges? The aim of government is to face this challenge head on. We know
and
that.
Solve it.
And solve it. And like I said, it is fundamental that you study your approach to the solution. Until you change it, you'll be going around in circles.
Probably running around in circles. Now, there is the Energy for Health initiative and the Power in Health, Energy for Health initiatives and power in the health sector. What does this initiative involve? How far has these two initiatives gone in dealing with the power issues? I mean, these are some of the things that are already on ground before you talk about what you want to do. So how far these two initiatives, how far have they gone in dealing with the power issues that the hospitals are contending with?
Yeah, so there has been some assessments that have delved into all of this, and at the moment, it might be difficult to preempt the presentation that will be made at the dialogue that will showcase all of these assessments and the reviews and the findings. So all I would say is I would like to introduce a bit of suspense to it, to say that there are presentations at the dialogue that will showcase the results of these initiatives across a whole array of sectors, especially in the power sector. There are presenters and senior management from Federal Ministry of Power that will say this because, of course, most of us are health experts. We are not energy experts, but they are the ones that can really put all of the perspectives into place and showcase some of these findings. And I also want to, first of all, of course, I'm talking with you, I want to invite you to the program.
No. Of course, if they do what they should do, Arise News will definitely, we'll have a health correspondent.
Definitely.
And
So,
this is very important,
yes,
especially because of the mortality rate, particularly for women.
We know it's a very, very important issue. It's the Honourable Minister of State used to mention that beyond the issue of earth workforce migration, this is the next most critical issue. And it is being tackled head-on.
Yeah, because even doctors are threatening to go on strike. By September 10, you were talking about 9 doctors. I mean, I have a recent doctor saying their demands are not met by September 10. They would embark on a nationwide strike. I hope that they're factoring that in and make sure they stop it.
Of course, there are moves being made to make sure that that is being handled. And on the last note, I want to also mention that it is not just about one person. It is not just about Dr. Daram. It's not just about the ministry. It's about everybody. And I don't want us to have this mindset of, oh, they've started it again, because we're all in this ship. Anybody could end up in a hospital. So we cannot afford to let it sink. We need to put our lands on deck.
We're all in it, but we have a head.
And that's why there is the leadership.
Now we have a leadership. I mean, I was talking to Akim Tedese of the NEL Fund, and he was saying, all of us are leaders, I agree, but you have only one captain. In a ship, and if the head is rotten, there's a problem.
And that is why the leadership is looking at what strategies are we been using before. How can we change that?
Dr. Olakunle Daramola, Secretary of the Power for Health Committee at the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. Thank you for being on Arise Prime Time.
Thank you very much, sir, for having me.